Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about abundance. The literal definition of abundance is a very large quantity of something or plenty of something. And spiritually speaking, abundance is the innate tendency of nature and life to manifest, to grow, to become more of itself. It is the tendency of the life force to produce more and create more of everything. And so if this is the truth, and it is, for nature, it demonstrates itself all around us. I especially like to think of the blue sky, the grains of sand on planet Earth, the blades of grass, the drops of water in the ocean. All of these ideas are symbolized in our natural world, our nature state of being. And so as it is the nature of life to give, to produce, to create, that is our natural tendency also. The law of life is reciprocal. So as we fully experience the bounty that life has to offer, we are able to become willing and loving recipients of all this good. We can open ourselves up to be a receptive vessel to all the good, the abundant good that life has to offer. Ernest Holmes wrote, "That with which you mentally identify yourself sets up an image of thought in your consciousness which tends to attract the situations with which you are mentally identified." And so we look once again at how our own consciousness operates in the greater field of all consciousness, all that is God. And for each one of us, we have the opportunity to look and to think about what it is for us that allows us to feel plugged in, allows us to feel tuned in, connected with this life force that is ever giving. I love that idea that God is the self-givingness of life itself, and that we, made in the image and likeness of God, are also a part of this perfect flow. For me, I find it incredibly healing and uplifting, inspiring and motivating to connect myself with nature daily, if not more than once a day. And so one night we were out in our hot tub, just sitting back and allowing the warmth of the water to caress, well, I'll say me, but we were both there, but to caress my body and to feel that warmth. And you can, in those moments, just have a real, a letting go of the tensions in the body just from the warmth of the water. And the jets coming out even amplify the relaxation state of life. And that is a way to, when we let go of the tensions of the world and the tensions in our own life, it is a way to feel more deeply the inner calling, the peace, the tranquility that life is, that God is, and to feel our connection, our oneness with that essence, that power, that being. And this particular night, I opened my eyes, the sky was flooded with stars. They were just absolutely gorgeous. And the view from my perspective was a cedar tree growing on to my left and a palm tree growing to the right. And right between the two beautiful trees that were silhouetted in the night sky was the Big Dipper. And it was incredible. It was so amazingly beautiful. It was tilted so that the dipper was facing downward, like it was pouring out, and the handle came up. And so I just imagined that as the hands of God offering the dipper, offering the plenty into the universe and into my life. And the connection is just incredible. And so each one of us has the opportunity to look for and find, to seek out new ways, maybe even to experience how God, how abundant life shows up in our life personally.
That's such a beautiful picture. And I remember that night too. It really was beautiful. You know, although your activity is limited and your financial income may be somewhat reduced because of this coronavirus that's going around, that does not mean you cannot feel and experience abundance in your life. I want to share a story with you too, and it may be going a different direction than the one Deborah told. In fact, I'm going to offer a disclaimer here. You may want to get a Kleenex or something to comfort yourself, because it is going to elicit some feelings as well. In the early days of science and chemistry, there was a common practice of alchemists to try to combine common elements to create things of value, metals and circumstances in their lives. In 1675, the German alchemist Henrik Brandt believed that he could distill gold from human urine. Now, I'm not making this up. This is really a true story. He collected 50 buckets of human urine and kept it in his cellar. Now, I don't know about you, but if there was a stay-home order at that time and I was Henrik's wife, I'd probably look for another home. Well, he began to boil this urine until it reduced down to a thick syrup. And he heated it until a red oil distilled from the top of it, and he drew off that red oil and allowed the rest of it to cool down. And when it cooled down, it ended up with a kind of a black spongy upper crust, and underneath it was a salty lower part. Well, he gathered all the salt and discarded it, just threw it away. Then he mixed the red oil back into the mixture and heated it up again for another 16 hours. And eventually, white fumes began to come off of the mixture, and then an oil, and then voila! No, it wasn't gold. It began to glow in the dark. It began to glow green. What he had created was the element of phosphorus for the first time. Now, you may think this is a big mistake and a big disaster for him, that he had created phosphorus instead of gold. But in those days, because of the properties of phosphorus, the fact that it could glow in the dark and the fact that it could burst into flame when exposed to air, it was quite valuable. In fact, it was retailed at about, well, in today's standard would be $500 for an ounce, which is more valuable than gold.
Wow.
Another point. Remember I told you that stage where he took the salt and separated and just threw it away? Later on, scientists found that the greater percentage of that salt was actually phosphorus. So he actually threw away a huge amount of potential wealth.
Wow, you're just a book of knowledge, a book of abundance. And Marianne Williamson said the key to abundance is meeting limited circumstances with unlimited thoughts. I think David's story illustrates that. The idea of meeting limited circumstances or apparent limited circumstances with unlimited thinking. And so that is one more reason that we want to connect, to fine-tune our own thinking and our own connection with this universal presence of God. Wayne Dyer wrote, "Abundance isn't something we acquire, it's something we tune into."
We quite often confuse abundance with prosperity. Abundance just means a lot. And the world is abundant. There's plenty available for all of us. So I would like you to think about this. is there more to you than you think there is? And I'm not talking about the fact that you're sitting around watching TV and eating your troubles away during this time. I'm talking the fact that is there really just more to you than you think there is?
Always.
Always. And Adam is estimated to measure 0.000000008 or 8/100ths of a millionth of a centimeter, which is pretty small, right? And a single mole of hydrogen gas, which is 2.016 grams, also pretty small, there are 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd power molecules. That's 6.02 times 10 with 23 zeros after it. That's how many molecules are in a single molecule. To give some perspective of that number, which is a huge number, the immensity of that number, that would be the number of popcorn kernels needed to cover the entire United States to a depth of 9 miles. That's a lot of popcorn.
That is a lot of popcorn.
Here's another picture. That's the number of cupfuls of water in the Pacific Ocean. That's the number of soft drink cans covering the entire Earth to the depth of 200 miles. And sometimes we often equate prosperity and abundance together. That would be the number of pennies to make every person on Earth a trillionaire. That is a huge amass. That's a huge number. And if you think that's big, there are approximately 7 times 10 to the 27th power, that's 10 followed by 27 zeros, atoms in the average human body. Average human body means somewhere between Deborah and me, I would assume. And you, that's a substantially huger number. And so if you think you are limited, you are quite actually very huge and great.
So I love that. I love how that fits right in with that idea that Wayne Dyer shared with us, that abundance isn't something we acquire. It's something we tune into. And so abundance is about expanding your mind, expanding your consciousness, expanding your views to become inclusive of all that is, so that it feels like everything that is yours already. Because in the mind of God, it is. In the mind of God, there is one life, one force, one energy, one presence. And that power and presence is one for good. And it is a power and presence that supports you right where you are, whatever's going on in your life. And so we're not suggesting that you go to the store and attempt to buy $100 of groceries if you only have 20 in your pocket. We are suggesting that if you want the 100, expand the consciousness. Become the one who thinks so abundantly that when you go to the grocery store, you can spend 100 instead of 20. It's actually rather hard to spend 20 these days and actually get something at the grocery store. So let's leave with this idea as each of us goes about our life, connecting, tuning in, and expanding our own idea of abundance. These words are from Napoleon Hill. Remember, no more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity, than is required to accept misery and poverty. The choice is yours. What is it?